The human shielded the princess queen, and the alien queen proclaimed him hers. Best HFY stories, the sun hung low over the endless dunes of Iridian, 9 painting the desert in deep shades of orange and gold. The wind carried fine grains of sand that danced like fire in the air, and distant mountains shimmered in the heat haze. Somewhere far off, the hum of engines echoed across the plains. Jace Callahan leaned forward on his solar hoverbike, its single glowing thruster kicking up small clouds of sand. He had been wandering the desert for days searching for energy crystals that could power entire starships. For most people, Iridian 9 was a harsh, uninviting place, but for Jace, it was home. The desert tested patience and skill, and he had learned both in spades. His brown coat flapped in the wind as he adjusted the small crystal detector on the bike. The device beeped softly, indicating a faint reading. Jace squinted, scanning the horizon. The sun's glare made it almost impossible to see far, but he caught a glint of light reflecting off a distant canyon wall. He guided the bike toward it, careful not to skid in the soft sand. As he approached, the wind howled louder, and the sky darkened with swirling clouds of dust. It was unusual. Iridian. 9 did have storms, but they rarely appeared without warning. Ahead, he noticed movement. A figure stumbled across the sand, struggling against the growing storm. Jace slowed and brought the bike to a stop. Even from a distance, he could see that the figure was wearing a long, flowing gown, unlike anything humans usually wore on the desert planets. She seemed to be calling for help, though the wind carried her voice away. Without hesitation, Jace raced toward her, weaving through the dunes. As he reached the canyon entrance, the figure stumbled and almost fell into a narrow crevice. Without thinking, he jumped off the bike and grabbed her arm, pulling her to safety. "You're going to be okay," Jace said, brushing sand from her shoulders. "Hold on." "I'll get you out of here." The woman looked up at him with wide, frightened eyes. Her skin was pale, almost glowing in the dim light, and her hair shone like molten gold. Thank you," she whispered, her voice shaking. "I am Princess Lyra of the Orion Federation. My escort was supposed to meet me, but the storm, it came so fast." Jace's eyebrows rose. A princess? In the middle of a desert storm? It sounded almost like a storybook tale, but the truth was in front of him. He offered her a hand. "Well, Princess Lyra, lucky for you, I know these sands better than anyone. Let's get you somewhere safe." She hesitated for a moment, but nodded. She followed him to the hoverbike, holding her gown carefully to avoid tangling it in the machine's thruster. Jace adjusted the seat, and she climbed on behind him. She gripped him tightly, her fingers brushing his jacket. Jace felt a brief flicker of surprise, but said nothing. As they sped across the dunes, the storm grew stronger. The wind bent the sand into strange shapes, making the desert seem alive. Shadows danced across the canyon walls like spirits, and the distant hum of engines returned, this time louder, closer. "What is that sound?" Lyra asked, her voice tense. "Probably some automated patrol or survey drone," Jace said. "But it doesn't sound friendly. Hang on." He steered the bike toward a narrow ravine. The rocks above formed a natural arch, shielding them from the worst of the wind. As they moved through the shadowed passage, the humming stopped. The silence felt heavy, almost like the desert itself was holding its breath. Lyra let out a small shiver. "Is it always this? Alive?" she asked softly. Jace glanced at her. "Iridian? 9 doesn't do anything by accident. Every rock, every gust of wind, it's testing you. You get through it, you survive. Simple as that." She nodded, trying to hide her fear, but Jace noticed the way she clutched the sides of her gown, her knuckles white. They reached a small plateau overlooking the desert. Jace parked the bike behind a rock outcrop, giving them some cover. The storm still raged, but the wind was lighter here. He pulled a small water flask from his pack and offered it to her. "Here," he said. "Drink. You'll need it." She took it with a shaky hand and sipped slowly. "I don't know how to thank you. My guards, none of them could have saved me in time." Jay shrugged. "Guess it's just what I do. Wander, help when I can. Nothing heroic, princess." She smiled faintly, a small spark of warmth in her eyes. "Still, I owe you my life. My world owes you too. If word spreads that I survived this storm, it will be because of you." Before Jace could respond, the wind shifted, carrying a strange, almost musical hum. It wasn't mechanical, it was alive. Lyra froze. What is that?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. Jace felt it in his chest too, a low vibration that seemed to come from the desert itself. The air shimmered in front of them, like heat waves on the horizon, but these waves carried shapes. Figures, tall and elegant, gliding across the dunes. Aliens? Jace muttered under his breath. He had heard rumors of intelligent life on Iridian 9, but he had never seen them. These beings were unlike anything human. Their skin glowed faintly in the storm's light, and their eyes reflected the twin moons above. The figures stopped at the canyon's edge, and one of them stepped forward. She was taller than the others, radiating a quiet authority. Her voice, though silent to the ears, resonated in Jace's mind. "Human, you have interfered where others would not," the voice said, "and for that you are chosen." Jace swallowed hard. "Chosen for what?" he asked aloud, though he knew the voice would hear him anyway. The figure did not answer. She raised her hands, and the desert hummed louder. The other figures bowed slightly, as if awaiting her command. Lyra clutched Jace's arm. Who are they?" "I don't know," he admitted, "but I think they mean no harm, not yet. We need to stay calm." The alien figure turned her gaze toward Lyra. Though Jace could not hear her words, he saw the shift in the princess's expression. Respect, awe, and fear mingled in her eyes. Then, almost as suddenly as they appeared, the figures retreated. The hum faded, and the desert returned to its ordinary wind-blown silence. Jace exhaled, feeling tension leave his shoulders. That was incredible," Lyra said. "And terrifying. Do you think they're friendly?" Jace shrugged, scanning the horizon. "Friendly or not, I think we're part of something bigger now, and I don't know if we can leave until it's over." The princess looked at him, her eyes shining in the dim desert light. "You saved me, Jace. You don't have to stay, but I hope you will. I need someone I can trust out here." Jace nodded, understanding the weight of her words. For the first time in years, he felt like he belonged somewhere. The desert had always been his home, but now it felt like a bridge to something far greater. He tightened his grip on the hoverbike's controls. "All right, princess, you've got me. Let's see this through. Together." As the storm began to fade and the first stars appeared in the darkening sky, Jace and Lyra prepared to move. Somewhere beyond the dunes, the alien queen watched, silent and patient, her presence felt, even without a word. The desert had tested them, and it had passed judgment. They were ready for the journey ahead. Above them, Meridian, 9's twin moons rose, casting silver light on the golden sands. The night was quiet now, but the adventure was only beginning. The desert night was quiet, but the stillness felt heavy, as if the dunes themselves were holding a secret. Jace Callahan and Princess Lyra rested atop a wide plateau, the twin moons of Iridian, 9 reflecting silver light across the sands. Their hoverbike hummed softly behind a rock outcrop, its glow barely noticeable under the moonlight. Lyra sat cross-legged, brushing loose sand from her golden gown, while Jace examined a small handheld scanner he had used to track energy crystals earlier. Though the desert storm had passed, a faint vibration still hummed under the ground, a subtle, almost alive pulse that set Jace's nerves on edge. "Do you feel that?" Lyra asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Jace nodded. "Yeah. Something's moving. Or waiting, I don't know which yet." Lyra's brow furrowed. It felt like they were watching us earlier. "The aliens, the ones in the storm, they were," Jace said simply. "Whatever that is out there, it knows we're here. And it knows you're the princess." Lyra looked down at her hands, then back at Jace. "Do you think they mean harm?" "Not sure," Jace admitted. "But I think it's more complicated than that. They're testing us. Or maybe judging us. And somehow you've got a lot riding on it." A soft vibration ran through the rocks under their feet. Jace straightened, his eyes narrowing. "That's not natural. Stay close." From the edge of the plateau, a column of light appeared, rising like a pillar into the night sky. It shimmered with colors Jace had never seen, violet, emerald, and silver intertwining like liquid ribbons. Within the light, a figure began to materialize. Taller than any human, her form seemed to float just above the sands. Her skin reflected the moonlight like polished crystal, and her eyes glowed faintly, deep pools of green and gold. Jace felt the air change around him, as if the desert itself leaned him closer. Lyra gasped softly. The alien queen stepped forward. Though she did not speak aloud, Jace felt her words resonate directly in his mind. The voice was calm, deep, and filled with authority. "Human," she said, her thoughts echoing in his mind. "You have interfered where others would not. You have protected what was fragile. For this, you are chosen." Jace swallowed. "Chosen? Chosen for what?" The alien queen tilted her head slightly. "For a task beyond your understanding. A shield, a guide, a bridge between worlds. You will be mine in purpose, though not in form. You will walk paths others cannot. Lyra clutched his arm, fear and wonder mingling in her expression. What does she mean? Jace looked at the Queen, feeling the pulse of energy under the desert, a subtle vibration in sync with her presence. I think she's saying I have a role to play. Something important. Something that matters to both our worlds. The Queen's gaze shifted from Jace to Lyra. Though silent, the message came clear. Respect for the princess. Recognition. The subtle promise that no harm would come to her under this human's care. Lyra let out a slow breath. I see. So she's approving of you? Something like that, Jace said, trying to keep his voice steady. But it's more than approval. It's responsibility, and I don't know exactly what that means yet. The alien Queen's figure glimmered, and the vibration in the ground grew stronger. Jace realized it was a kind of communication, an invitation to follow, a challenge to prove that he could handle it. She wants us to go somewhere, Jace said finally. I can feel it. Something important, maybe dangerous, is out there. But I think we need to do it together. Lyra nodded, brushing sand from her hands. Then together it is. The Queen extended a slender hand, and the desert responded. The sands rose like waves, forming a path glowing faintly under the moons. Jace and Lyra exchanged a look. Neither spoke, but both understood they had no choice. This path was their guide. As they followed, the alien Queen glided silently ahead, her form casting shimmering reflections across the dunes. Jace felt the desert shifting beneath him, sensing the energy of the planet responding to her presence. Lyra stayed close, her hand occasionally brushing against his for balance as they traversed the uneven sand. Do you ever wonder, Lyra said softly, if all of this is real? That aliens exists, and they've chosen you for something? Jace chuckled quietly. I've seen a lot of strange things in my life. But yeah, this tops the list. Never thought I'd be protecting a princess and whatever she is, right there in front of us. He nodded toward the alien Queen, who had paused on a dune, her glowing eyes watching them. Lyra smiled faintly. Well, it seems we're all part of a bigger story now, and maybe it's a story we can write together. The Queen stopped at the edge of a massive canyon. The sands glimmered with strange energy, faint trails of light tracing patterns along the rocks. At the canyon's center, a colossal crystal formation pulsed with soft colors, like the heartbeat of the planet itself. This, Jace whispered, is what she wanted to show us. That crystal, it's alive. Lyra stepped closer, awe in her expression. It's beautiful and enormous, but why show it to us? Jace reached out, brushing his fingers along the glowing sand. The vibration intensified, and he felt a connection, not just to the crystal, but to the alien Queen herself. I think she wants us to protect it, or maybe learn from it. Either way, it's important. The alien Queen floated to the center of the formation. Her voice filled their minds again. Human, princess, you are witnesses. Your unity matters. You will face trials that test your trust, your wisdom, and your courage. Violence is not the answer. Only understanding and collaboration will succeed. Lyra glanced at Jace, her eyes wide. Did you hear that? She said no violence. Jace nodded. Looks like it. That makes sense. I don't know exactly what comes next, but if we can solve this, we'll do it without hurting anyone. I think that's her test. The Queen's figure shimmered again, the colors of her form reflecting the crystal's glow. Then, with a sudden motion, she pointed toward a distant ridge where a smaller cluster of crystals pulsed faintly in rhythm with the larger formation. Follow that path, her thoughts commanded. There lies the beginning. Only those chosen may step forward. Lyra looked at Jace, her voice firm. We can do this, together. Jace offered a small, reassuring smile. Together. Let's see where it leads. As they moved forward, the desert around them seemed alive in new ways. Patterns in the sand shifted under their feet, small luminescent creatures scuttled past, and the distant mountains sparkled with hints of hidden energy. Jace realized the desert was not just a planet. It was a living, breathing entity, and somehow the alien Queen's presence had made it more alive than ever. They reached the first cluster of crystals, which pulsed faintly as if acknowledging their approach. Jace knelt to examine them, brushing sand away to reveal intricate patterns etched along their surfaces. Lyra leaned over his shoulder, her fingers tracing the glowing lines. Do you think this is a map? She asked. Maybe, Jace said, or maybe it's instructions. It's not like any language I know, but the vibrations. They feel like guidance. like it's telling us exactly what to do next. The alien queen hovered nearby, silent but present, her glowing eyes watching their every move. Jace felt a strange sense of reassurance. He wasn't just a wanderer in the desert anymore. He was a participant in something much larger, something that could change both human and alien understanding of the world. Hours passed as they studied the crystal cluster. They learned to move with its rhythm, shifting their steps in time with the vibrations. Every misstep caused a faint ripple in the lights, a reminder that patience and attention were essential. Finally, as the first hints of dawn appeared on the horizon, the crystal pulsed brighter than ever, and the desert seemed to hum with approval. Jace stood, brushing sand from his jacket. Lyra smiled at him. "We did it," she said softly. "For now," Jace replied, "I think the real journey is just beginning." The alien queen's presence grew fainter as she drifted back toward the horizon, but her final thoughts lingered in their minds. "You are chosen. Trust in each other. Trust in the desert. The path ahead is yours." Jace looked at Lyra, then at the glowing dunes ahead. "Well," he said, "I guess we have work to do." Lyra nodded. "And I'm glad it's with you, Jace. Whatever comes next, we'll face it together." The twin moons faded as the sun rose over Iridian 9, casting golden light on the desert. The planet was quiet now, but it held secrets yet to be revealed. Jace and Lyra, guided by the alien queen's mysterious wisdom, prepared to step further into the unknown, knowing that their journey had only just begun. The morning sun stretched across the golden dunes of Iridian 9, casting long shadows that twisted and danced as if the desert itself were alive. Jace Callahan tightened the straps of his pack, glancing at Princess Lyra. Her gown, once flowing and delicate, was now tucked into her belt for easier movement. Both of them were ready for the next stage of their journey, finding the energy core the alien queen had indicated. "Think the crystals will show us the way?" Lyra asked, brushing sand from her hands. Jace checked his scanner. A faint pulse of energy was still there, guiding them forward. "Yeah, but it won't be easy. The path is tricky. The desert likes to test anyone who walks on it." Lyra smiled faintly. "Good thing I have the best guide in the desert," Jace smirked. "Flattery won't keep you from falling into a sand pit." They moved carefully across the dunes, following the rhythm of the glowing crystals that pulsed faintly beneath the sand. Every few steps, the vibrations of energy would intensify or fade, almost like the desert itself was giving them directions. Jace realized that patience, observation, and intuition were more important here than speed or strength. After an hour of careful travel, the ground began to shift. Tiny creatures scuttled across the sand, leaving faint, glittering trails in their wake. Jace knelt to observe them. "Look at this," he said. "These little things. They're not just insects. They're part of the desert's guidance system. Follow their trails and you'll avoid the unstable ground." Lyra crouched beside him, her eyes following the tiny lights. "They're beautiful, like living stars." "Yeah," Jace said quietly. "And smart, too. The desert's alive in ways most people don't understand. It's teaching us without words." They continued for hours, navigating through soft dunes, rocky ridges, and shallow canyons. Sometimes the path ahead seemed blocked by natural formations, but the crystals pulsed brighter whenever they took the correct route. Jace's intuition and Lyra's careful observations allowed them to move steadily forward. By midday, the landscape changed dramatically. The sand gave way to jagged, reflective rocks, glimmering as if embedded with hidden crystals. The energy pulse grew stronger, vibrating beneath their feet in sync with the crystal formations. "This has to be it," Jace said, scanning the area. "The energy core has to be close." Lyra looked at the largest rock formation ahead, where a faint light shimmered within a hollow. "Do you see that?" Jace nodded. "Yeah, let's approach carefully. The desert might be testing us." As they moved closer, the vibration grew stronger, almost like a heartbeat. Jace crouched and touched the sand. The pulse responded to his touch, and he realized it was not just energy. It was alive in some way, reacting to their presence. Lyra stepped closer, feeling the warmth in the air. "It's like the planet itself is alive, waiting for us." Jace smiled faintly. "Exactly. And if we work with it, we can do something incredible." They reached the hollow, where the largest crystal formation rose like a natural spire glowing softly. Its surface rippled with energy, and the vibrations beneath their feet intensified. Jace could feel the power humming through his veins, a strange mixture of excitement and awe. "This is it," he whispered. "The energy core." Lyra reached out, brushing her hand along the glowing surface. The crystal pulsed gently beneath her fingers. "It's beautiful."
"But it feels delicate. We need to be careful."
Jace nodded. "Yeah. One wrong move and the balance could shift. We need to stabilize it. But how?" The alien queen's presence returned, faint but guiding. Her thoughts reached them like a soft melody. "You must synchronize. Work together. Listen to the core. Let it lead." Jace exchanged a glance with Lyra. "Okay, we do this together. We pay attention to the rhythm. Let the energy show us what to do." Lyra nodded, ready. They moved to stand on either side of the crystal, touching its surface lightly. The pulse responded to their presence, growing stronger as they synchronized their breathing and movements. Jace noticed subtle changes in the glow, shifts in color and intensity, as if the crystal was speaking in light. "Follow the changes," Jace said. "Adjust your position when it pulses differently." Lyra adjusted, leaning slightly, and the crystal's glow brightened. Jace mirrored her movements, and the vibrations under their feet began to stabilize. It was like dancing with a partner they could not see, feeling the rhythm in their bones and responding with precision. Hours seemed to pass, though Jace could not tell. The desert around them remained quiet, the only sound the faint hum of the crystal and the soft wind. Step by step, pulse by pulse, they worked together, learning the crystal's language, letting the energy flow through them. Finally, the core pulsed in a steady, harmonious rhythm. The glow spread across the desert, illuminating distant dunes and reflecting off tiny crystal fragments scattered across the sand. The energy no longer felt chaotic. It was calm, balanced, and vibrant. Lyra smiled, her eyes shining. "We did it." "The energy, it's stable." Jace let out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. "Yeah, we did it. And no one got hurt, which is a plus." The alien queen appeared again, her figure glowing faintly in the distance. Her thoughts were calm and approving. "You have succeeded. Balance is restored. You are ready for the next stage." Lyra looked at Jace, awe in her expression. "I can't believe we did it. Together." Jace chuckled softly. "I told you, patience and observation. That's the real power in this desert. Not strength, not weapons, just paying attention." The queen's glow intensified, then slowly began to fade. Her final thought lingered in their minds. Trust. Always trust each other. The journey ahead will need more than courage. It will need understanding. Lyra looked around at the glowing desert. "Do you think there's more to come?" Jace nodded. "Definitely. This was just the first test. The desert and the alien queen will have more challenges for us, but we're ready." As the sun began to set, the desert transformed again. The glowing sands cooled, the creatures of the desert returned to their hidden burrows, and the air settled into a peaceful quiet. Jace and Lyra made camp near the core, the light from the crystals casting a gentle glow over their small shelter. Sitting by the fire, Lyra turned to Jace. "I never imagined traveling through a desert with someone I didn't know, learning from alien energy and stabilizing a living crystal. It's like a dream." Jace smiled. "Sometimes the desert doesn't just test you. It shows you who you are. And I think we learned a lot today, not just about the crystal, but about each other." Lyra nodded. "I trust you, Jace. More than I thought I could trust anyone out here." "And I trust you," Jace said. "We make a good team, and I think the alien queen knows that. That's why she chose us." They sat in silence for a moment, watching the twin moons rise over the horizon. The desert glowed softly around them, alive with the pulse of energy that now hummed in harmony. The planet seemed peaceful, yet Jace knew this was only the beginning. The energy core had been stabilized, but the alien queen's warnings about the path ahead were clear. More tests, more challenges, and more lessons awaited. Jace looked at the horizon, then at Lyra. "Tomorrow, we keep moving. The desert has more to teach, and we have more to discover. Together," Lyra smiled, brushing sand from her hands. "Together," she echoed. As the night deepened, the glowing crystal hummed softly, the desert breathing around them like a living, protective guardian. Jace felt a sense of calm he hadn't experienced in years. He realized that this was more than an adventure. It was a purpose, a reason to be part of something bigger than himself. Somewhere in the distance, faint traces of the alien queen's presence lingered, watching, guiding, and waiting for the next step. Jace and Lyra knew that the journey was far from over, but for the first time they felt ready. The desert had tested them. They had passed. And now, with the energy core stable and their trust in each other solidified, they could step into whatever the alien queen had prepared next. The desert of Viridian, 9 glowed under the twin moons, the soft hum of the stabilized energy core still echoing across the sands. Jace Callahan and Princess Lyra walked carefully toward the largest crystal formation, the one that had guided them through the previous days of trial. The air was crisp, carrying the faint scent of minerals and ozone, and the desert itself seemed to watch, calm, yet alive. Jace adjusted the strap of his pack, glancing at Lyra. "I can't believe we made it this far," he said. "Feels like yesterday we were just hiding from that storm." Lyra smiled faintly. "Every step was a test, but we trusted each other. That's why we're here." From the sky, a column of light appeared, shimmering like a beacon. The alien queen descended gracefully, her form glowing softly, radiating calm authority. The desert around them seemed to bend toward her presence, the sands shifting gently, as though bowing to her. "You have reached the end of the path," her thoughts flowed into Jace and Lyra's minds. "The trials are complete. You have proven trust, understanding, and patience. Now, the balance of your worlds rests in your unity." Jace stepped closer, his eyes wide. "Unity? How do we do that?" The Queen's luminous hands moved toward the crystal, which pulsed brighter in response. "The energy core binds the desert's life force to the potential of your people. Humans and Siltwalkers, my people, can share knowledge, resources, and understanding. But only if you two act together." Lyra glanced at Jace. "So what we do matters for everyone? Our worlds?" "Yes," the Queen's voice resonated gently. "Your cooperation proves that two very different beings can work together. That understanding is stronger than fear. That is the lesson your civilizations must learn." Jace exhaled slowly. "All right, together." The Queen moved closer, hovering above the glowing crystal. She extended her hands and a soft hum filled the air, vibrating in harmony with the energy core. The crystal's light spread outward, bathing Jace and Lyra in shimmering colors. "You must link your intentions," the Queen explained. "Focus on the harmony of your thoughts. The desert, the core, and your trust will guide the process." Jace looked at Lyra, her golden hair catching the light of the crystal. "We need to focus on what we want. Peace, cooperation, understanding, not power or control." Lyra nodded, closing her eyes. "I'm ready." They both touched the crystal simultaneously. The energy beneath their fingertips pulsed in rhythm with their heartbeats, and the desert responded. Tiny lights danced across the dunes, rising from the sand like fireflies. The air shimmered with energy, warm yet gentle, as if the planet itself were smiling. Jace could feel it, the connection between the desert, the alien queen, and Lyra. It was more than energy. It was life, understanding, and possibility. And he realized something important. It was not about doing the right thing perfectly, but about trusting and working together. The crystal pulsed brighter, and the alien queen's presence strengthened. "You are ready," she thought. "The world sees your example." Suddenly, the desert shifted in ways neither of them expected. A series of pathways opened across the sands, glowing faintly, leading to distant valleys and ridges. It was as if the energy core had mapped a network of communication and cooperation between the human settlements and the Siltwalker cities hidden among the dunes. Lyra gasped. "It's beautiful. The desert is showing us the connections, where our worlds can meet." Jace smiled. "Yeah, and we just did it. We made this possible." The alien queen descended further, her voice gentle and approving. "Human princess, you have completed the first step. The path forward is now clear. Your peoples may learn from one another, share knowledge, and grow stronger, not by force, but by understanding. This is the promise of unity." Lyra stepped closer to Jace, her hand brushing against his. "I never thought that a human could do this, that one person could make a difference." Jace shrugged, a small smile on his face. "Guess I'm not just any human. Just someone who pays attention, listens, and tries to do the right thing." The Queen's glowing form pulsed with light. "You are the bridge between worlds. Your choices will guide generations. Remember, courage alone is not enough. Wisdom, patience, and trust must lead." The desert seemed to respond, the sand swirling gently, and the glowing crystal scattered across the dunes pulsed in approval. Jace could see tiny Siltwalker forms emerging in the distance, moving gracefully along the lighted pathways. It was a silent parade of recognition, acknowledging the balance and cooperation he and Lyra had created. Lyra turned to him, her eyes sparkling. "Do you realize what this means? We could bring humans and Siltwalkers together. No wars, no fear, just learning from one another." Jace nodded. "I do." And it's a bigger adventure than anything I've ever imagined. But I'm ready for it, if you are. She smiled and took his hand. Together. The alien queen's glow softened, her final thoughts washing over them like warm sunlight. You have succeeded. Let your peoples follow your example. Protect this trust, and the future will be brighter than you can imagine. Jace looked at the horizon, watching the desert shimmer in soft light. He realized that this was more than a mission. It was a new beginning. For him, for Lyra, and for two very different worlds. The desert that had tested him, that had challenged every step of his journey, now felt like home in a way he had never known. Lyra squeezed his hand. The Federation will be amazed by what you've done, Jace. And the Siltwalkers, they will see a new path forward, thanks to you. He smiled, feeling a quiet pride. I didn't do it alone. We did it. Together. The twin moons began to set, their silver light fading as the sun rose over the desert dunes. The glowing crystals continued to pulse softly, a gentle reminder that balance had been achieved. Jace and Lyra stood side by side, watching as tiny desert creatures moved along the illuminated pathways, carrying messages and energy, weaving life across the sands. Do you think the queen will return? Lyra asked quietly. Jace shook his head. Maybe, but I think her work here is done. She set us on the path, and now it's up to us to guide our worlds. She trusted us, and I think that's enough. Lyra nodded. I can feel it too. The desert, the crystals, the Siltwalkers, they all trust us now. It's a big responsibility. Jace laughed softly. Yeah, but if we keep listening and working together, we can handle it. After all, the desert has already taught us everything we need to know. Patience, observation, and trust. They began walking back toward the plateau where their hoverbike waited. The desert stretched endlessly before them, but it no longer felt intimidating. Every ridge, dune, and valley seemed alive with possibility, ready to support the journey ahead. As they approached the bike, the first human settlements appeared faintly on the horizon, and in the distance, tiny glowing forms of Siltwalkers moved toward the shared pathways the crystal network had revealed. Jace realized that the unity they had created would not only bring peace, but a future full of cooperation, knowledge-sharing, and wonder. Lyra looked at him, her voice soft but certain. We've changed the future, Jace, and we did it without harming anyone. Jace nodded, feeling a sense of calm he had never known. And that's the best kind of victory. The desert was alive around them, humming softly with energy, a living witness to their achievement. The twin moons faded completely, leaving the sun to cast golden light over Iridian. 9. Jace and Lyra mounted the hoverbike together, ready to guide their worlds toward the new future they had helped create. As the bike lifted smoothly from the sand, the desert stretched below them, shimmering with the pulse of the energy core. The alien queen's presence lingered faintly in the air, a reminder that guidance and wisdom were always near when trust and cooperation were the path forward. Jace looked at Lyra, a grin spreading across his face. Ready to go home? Lyra nodded.
Ready.
But this isn't the end. It's just the beginning. The hoverbike lifted higher, the desert sprawling beneath them like a living map of possibilities. Jace and Lyra felt the weight of their achievement, the promise of unity between humans and Siltwalkers, and the adventure that still awaited. Together, they had become the bridge between worlds, a bridge built on trust, understanding, and cooperation. And somewhere above the glowing dunes of Iridian, 9. The alien queen watched silently, proud that her choice had led to something greater than anyone could have imagined. The desert was alive, their journey had changed it, and the future, bright, peaceful, and full of hope, was theirs to guide.